former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency.
Immediately afterward, a document was presented to the cameras. A witness who had once called the FBI. This person stated that he had driven a limousine for Trump, had overheard phone calls between Trump and Epstein, and had direct contact with a girl who alleged abuse. What stands out is not just the content of the allegation, but the fact that the Department of Justice never interviewed this witness, a potential witness, a serious statement, an allegation involving a president, and not a single formal interview. If this is how the Department of Justice handles sensitive information, then the question is no longer whether Trump is guilty or not. The question is, does the system truly want to know the truth? What angered many people even more was the moment when Epstein's victims were asked to raise their hands if they had ever been contacted by the Department of Justice. Not a single hand went down.
Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and estimate and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you, all of you who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them.
All of them stated they had never been approached by the DOJ. They came forward on their own. They were ready to provide testimony, but they were ignored. Meanwhile, those defending Trump continued repeating a familiar argument, that he is the most transparent president in history. They claim that millions of documents related to Epstein have been released, but the reality is that there are 6 million files, and only half have been made public. 3 million remain in the dark. Half transparency is not transparency. It is information control. And when Trump was asked directly about the Epstein files, his response was not a firm declaration of innocence backed by releasing all the documents. Instead, it was visible irritation, personal attacks on the reporter, and an attempt to redirect the narrative.
Other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what do you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors.
You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth. And you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
These are survivors of a sexual abuser.
The story did not end with the hearing. It moved into an even more shocking development, the response from Ghislaine Maxwell. After Bondi made strong statements during the hearing, Maxwell, through a social media account managed by her family, sent a message that many interpreted as a warning directed at Trump. The message was not lengthy, but the meaning was clear. Trump should be careful about what members of his cabinet say publicly. At the same time, the issue of clemency, the possibility of a pardon or sentence reduction, began surfacing in discussions. Maxwell's attorney hinted that if granted immunity, she could cooperate and provide testimony clarifying many matters, including Trump's reputation. This is the critical point. Maxwell may hold a certain kind of influence within the administration, not because she has formal power, but because she has information. Parallel to that was controversy over an email reportedly sent by Epstein to Maxwell, referencing Trump's statements about their relationship. The document was withheld under claims of privilege.
I also found an email that I have right here from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted. And it included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege, there is no attorney-client privilege, and I see you're checking with your staff, and I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Will you commit to publicly providing the unredacted version of this so that the American people can understand the extent of Donald Trump's lies about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
When documents like that are redacted or kept sealed, the public has the right to raise questions, not because they already have answers, but because they are not allowed to see them. Trump and his supporters often emphasize that he is a victim of political attacks. But here, the issue is not only partisan, even some conservative voices have begun asking questions. If the president truly has no involvement, the simplest way to end speculation would be to release the entire file. No selectivity, no redactions, no delays. Instead, what we are witnessing is a pattern that fuels more suspicion, avoiding direct questions, attacking those who ask them, and maintaining secrecy under vague justifications. After Pam Bondi's controversial hearing, signs of internal strain began to emerge. When asked about Ghislaine Maxwell being transferred to a detention facility with lighter conditions, Bondi said she had not been informed in advance.
I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why, but you know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
An attorney general unaware of a decision involving one of the most sensitive inmates in America. Either she truly did not know, which suggests internal disorder, or she knew but did not want to admit it, which suggests something is being concealed. Neither possibility benefits the administration. Meanwhile, Maxwell continues sending carefully calculated signals. The message through her family was not merely a complaint. It sounded more like a reminder: control what the cabinet says. The question is, why would Maxwell believe that statements from administration officials could pose a risk to her or to Trump? Clearly, she is trying to negotiate.